It is the Beaver Banter Podcast. I'm CJ Baumgartner. There is Ian Rivers. And Ian, a great day to be a Beaver. We're going to start out with talking about football initially, but when we got done with the podcast last week, we got done recording, and we just had some breaking news in the Bemidji State sphere. And of course, Wednesday morning, news broke. And Ian, why don't you just kind of take away just what happened with Bemidji State Volleyball?
Yeah, last week, unfortunately, Bemidji State had to mourn the loss of the head volleyball coach, Kevin Ulmer. And that's something that obviously we didn't want to have to deal with. But, we not much to say about it on our part. Everybody that's had anything meaningful to say has said it. But we just wanted to acknowledge that it happened, and our thoughts are with his family and with the Bemidji State University and with the volleyball program. So definitely tough to see that.
Yeah, and obviously we've never had any conversations with him on the podcast level, and we've never talked to him, or really, we're not super close with the volleyball program, but obviously it's just a tough thing to go in no matter who it is. And yeah, just our thoughts and prayers are with his family, and for the fact of now that he's got some closure or can rest after doing that in his lengthy battle. And yeah, it's not a fun thing to deal with. So again, just our thoughts and prayers go to his family, the BSU volleyball, and just anybody involved. I know, Ian, they had the celebration of life for him yesterday. And Bemidji State Volleyball pushed back their home opener. It was supposed to be a week ago, and now just pushed it back and allowed everybody just to kind of collect their thoughts. And it's tough for a volleyball team to have to go through something like this. I mean, just on a personal level, on an emotional level, and then to be expected to go out and play volleyball in a tough conference this year. I mean, it's not an easy task, and outside of the X's and O's of actually playing, it's just tough emotionally with that group of people to play the rest of the year, and tough group of people involved in that coaching staff and program, and they're gonna go through the best they can, but just gut-wrenching, awful, and whatever adjective, whatever descriptive word you want to use, it's just not fun for that program. And just again, our thoughts and prayers are with the coach and Ulmer and his family.
Yeah. So volleyball, of course, pushed their home opener back. That will be this Thursday, September 26th, and then they play again on Saturday, their homecoming game against St. Cloud State, who, of course, they upset last season in Bemidji. But yeah, kind of makes volleyball feel secondary when things like that happen. So
yeah, and
tough news to start the show, but wanted to get that out there and just acknowledge that we're thinking of him and his family.
Yeah, and there's no good segue in a podcast to move from one segment to the other like that. But I guess the best way we can do it, Ian, Discord, people should join, right? And they can talk about Beaver sports any way they can.
Yeah, that's true. It's a big benefit to join the Discord for Beaver sports. I mean, we just had not to spoil anything, but tomorrow we have a pretty cool show coming out. It will be a 2-episode week for the Beaver Banter podcast. And we didn't spoil anything about this episode necessarily in the Discord, but for future interviews and projects that we work on, we might try to get some fan involvement. So the Discord is the best place to do that. Obviously, it's on all of our social media pages, so go find it there. The link is in the description. I'm sure it's on Apple and Spotify too. If it's not, maybe we'll put it on there if it's possible. But yeah, join the Discord. Hockey season's right around the corner. This interview may or may not have been something to get you hyped for this coming hockey season, or at least a little bit more excited. But yeah, go join the Discord. That's the place to be for Beaver Sports.
That's what we in the media business, Ian, call a tease, right?
Yeah, a little bit of a tease there. Well,
just a little.
We don't want to say anything too specific, but I guess hockey is a specific. So fans of Beaver hockey in particular will be excited about tomorrow's episode.
Yeah, you can check that out. Thursday morning is when it should be out. And you can listen to it and hopefully share it. And again, it's always great when you can, whether it's on YouTube, follow us on the Beaver Banter page, or whether it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on X or on Facebook, or YouTube, or the Discord. Just following the Beaver Banter page, helping it grow, sharing it, spreading the word is so huge, because we have seen the podcast grow year on year and want to keep that trend going. And it's because of you guys and your love of Beaver sports that really helped jumpstart it. So it's really cool. Speaking of things getting a jumpstart, a statement win, Ian, for Bemidji State football, going down to Sioux Falls. Never an easy place to play. Sioux Falls coming off of a win of a Division I program earlier in the season. They go down there, they get up 14-0 early. Looks like they're going to punch him in the mouth and walk away. And then Sioux Falls comes back. And it looked like for a second that they just grabbed the game and were going to not give it back. And then they did. Out of the back of the end zone, in fact. And Bemidji State drives down the field, and some great throws by McGath, some great catches by his receivers, some great running by Bemidji State. Defense stood up when it needed to. All of that combines to a 28-24 victory for the Bemidji State football team. Ian, without getting into specifics, what about that game impressed you the most?
This team's like battle. I mean, it started off really well, and we were like, oh man, this Sioux Falls team is a little bit overrated. We're kind of kicking their ass right now. And then, because like we were up 14-0 to start the game, and that was with a fumble into the end zone and out of the end zone on the first drive. So it could have been 21-0 at one point. And so it started off really, really well. And then things started to change for Sioux Falls. They end up taking a 17-14 lead into halftime. And then they end up going up 21 or 24-14, in the third quarter. And so we're like, man, this team needs to step it back up. And they made some big plays. And so just the fight from this team at the end of the game, not rolling over. I mean, I think that this might be like, outside of maybe the playoff win against Augustana, their first ever playoff win. I think that was like the hardest fought game that they had in the playoffs. Last season's was pretty hard fought. Defensively, they played outstanding, but this might have been like up there for regular season wins just in recent memory of a very impressive game. I mean, this game very much impressed me for Bemidji State. We knew these were two evenly matched teams going in, and I mean, they played it. They really, really played it. Sam made some outstanding throws. There was some outstanding catches made. Just a fantastic game to watch. Other than the stream buffering that was happening on Sioux Falls' end, that was pretty bad. But
it was not ideal. I thought the broadcasters, by the way, did a good job on the call. Normally, sometimes you get some of them and they're pretty. And I don't blame some of them, but as an opposing fan, they can be a little homerish. But I did appreciate the football broadcast that those guys for Sioux Falls did. I think it was just their local radio doing it. I thought they did a good job broadcasting the game from a play-by-play perspective. But back onto the field, Ian, I mean, I think the connection, and we talked about this with the last however many weeks with McGath and Bryce Peters was, I mean, just those guys have it and they can find each other. It's a lot like Alt Tabolio. Those guys, for whatever reason, just have a connection. But Andres Griffin coming in and playing the game he played, huge for this Bemidji State football team, right?
Yeah, Dre Griffin, I mean, 3 catches, 43 yards, and 2 touchdowns, including a insane catch in the back of the end zone. Again, really hard to tell because of the broadcast quality, but yeah, Sam extending the play, rolling out to his right, and then finds an open Dre Griffin in the back of the end zone, goes up and makes the one-handed catch. That was back in the first quarter. So really impressive game from him.
Drayton Lehman, go-ahead touchdown too.
Yep, the go-ahead touchdown as well in the game winner. And that was a dot of a throw. I mean, was that a 4th down play? I think it might have been.
I can't remember if it was 4th down or 3rd down, but yeah, it was.
Let me see if I can find it. But yeah, it was a high pressure situation because, I mean, we were down to it, man. It was, let's see. Yes, 4th down and 4.
Right.
And from the 24-yard line, Sam McGath to Andres Griffin in the end zone. That was a really good throw and a really good catch over the shoulder type thing, if I'm remembering it correctly. But yeah, I mean, this was just a great win for the team. I think it was the drive before that, if I remember correctly. Yes, it was. That was the drive where, I mean, Sioux Falls could have put this thing on ice, man. They
It looked
were
like the game was
driving.
over.
They were going to go up 10 with,
Like
10 minutes left in the game. And not that the game would have been over, but I can't remember who forced the fumble. Mark Leonard, it looks like. Or no, that was who caught it. Fumbled by Malik Knox. He forced the fumble. And it was the same thing. I mean, we had the fumble in and out of the end zone, and then Sioux Falls fumbles. And it was on the goal line, man. Like, I'm surprised. But that was a big hit, and he fumbled the ball. The offense gets the ball back, and they took advantage of it. They drove down the field and scored. So, I mean, like I said, just a really, really impressive win from this team. Sam McGath, he threw 2 not so great interceptions in the game, but he also threw for 263 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did his thing on the ground again, 9 carries for 39 yards. Yeah, it was a really good game overall. The rushing attack was still working. Jaden Washington, 20 carries for 81 yards. And then in Caprera got his first touchdown in a Beavers jersey. So overall, Bryce Peters, I mean, hey, disappointing game. He only had 1 touchdown. That's his lowest total of the season.
Yeah, step it up, Bryce. Come on.
Step it up, Bryce. 9 catches for 126 yards. Drayden Lehman had 8 catches for 69 yards. Caleb Miller added 4 catches for 19 yards as well. So overall, I mean, a good game from this team. Defensively, nobody had a crazy tackle total in this game. Stephen Hoffman, Marcus Hansen tied with 5. That's the most. That's a surprisingly low number, actually. But, what are you going to do? Marcus Hansen added a big sack in there as well and a forced fumble. So, again, just a good game. You can't really say enough about what happened. They took their licks. Like you said, it looked like they were down and out of it. And they kept fighting. They kept battling back, forcing turnovers. And they end up winning the game. So, congrats to them. That's a big win. One of your toughest tests from now until November. So that's a big win on the road. I will admit, or I will add in the rankings this week. I put a little tweet out there. You might have seen it on our Twitter. I mean,
yeah, Beaver fans feel the same way.
Rankings, pretty trivial thing. So I hate to complain about it too much, but it is weird when we beat up on a really not good Southwest Minnesota State team and then go up 2 spots. And then we go on the road against a team who's beaten a Division I program, if you want to call them that, St. Thomas, this year, and win against a team that's receiving votes. And we don't go up at all in the rankings. So again, there's probably external factors that are at play in there as to why Bemidji State did not jump in the rankings. And again, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. All that matters is who's on that committee picking out the 7 teams that are going to be in the playoffs come at the end of November. So that's what'll really matter to us. But yeah, good win on the road. And you got to get ready for UMary coming in now for homecoming this week.
Yeah, and, look, you can't make the playoffs in the first month of the season, but you can knock yourself out of it. And the fact that they beat that USF team, it doesn't put them into a playoff conversation, but it certainly keeps them in there. It doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't mean that they have it locked up, but
this would have made the door really tightly shut.
They would have had to pretty much win out.
They would have probably had to win out. I mean, maybe Wayne State or Augustana will be in a good spot.
They still might have to win out, really, but
yeah, I don't think so. I think if you lose one game to Wayne State or Augustana and win the other one of those 2 games, you're probably okay. With a 2-loss team, like, I would find it hard to believe that a 2-loss team wouldn't make it in. Now, granted, I have looked at the rankings, and the same teams are up there. It's Colorado School of Mines, it's Mankato, it's Augustana, it's Western Colorado, it's Central Washington. All those teams are ranked still that are in Bemidji State's region that they need to qualify for. So it's a tight contest, and if you lose against the wrong team, they might have a tiebreaker over you. But this is all stuff we can worry about, come late October and November when we get a little closer. But it's a huge game for keeping yourself in good position because you lost that Mankato game by the skin of your teeth, and that's unfortunate because it makes games like this now matter that much more, because if you lose to Sioux Falls, like you said, you might have to win out with how tough this region is going to be to qualify for the playoffs. But they were able to get it done. They got a huge win on the road, and it's really cool to see the team, pull out these results. People are in the building, they're watching. I'm seeing people posting about this game that aren't regulars at Bemidji State that are, just excited to see good football, and it's good to see your team come out on top in some of those matchups.
Yeah, and there's been a few things so far because now, they're 4 games in, I think. So for them to be 4 games in this season already, 3-1, a great spot to be in, and a few things have impressed me. One, the defense just being as good as advertised. Still, I know Marcus Hansen, Hoffman, those guys do a great job anchoring that front 7, and they obviously they do a great job in what they do. The defense is good. And I know we get so hyper fixated on offense, we sometimes forget to give those guys their flowers. They do a great job with what they do, and I think it's to the point now where we just trust them, where we're not so much worried about the defense anymore, or you know what I mean? Generally speaking, it's okay, can the offense get this done? Can they not turn it over? Can they dominate time of possession and whatever? And they've dominated time of possession, which has been something I know Alex Faber of the Bemidji Pioneer wrote an article talking about Bolte, going into time of possession and how they've really leaned into that this year. And in that matchup with Sioux Falls, they dominated time of possession. They had the ball for almost 35 minutes. Sioux Falls had the ball for 25 minutes. So for them to be able to do that and lean on that ground game a little bit more, because your offense, while still productive, isn't as high powering without Alt. You needed to lean into that a little bit more. And like you talked about at the beginning of the season, Ian needing to lean into that ground game, and they have. And McGath, it feels like every single week is just getting more confidence in his ability to throw the football. I know he had some turnovers that are not desired, but when you see him sling the football around each week, he's getting more and more confident. And not that we didn't think he could do it coming into the season. We just didn't know. Because if you're going to have somebody throw, it was going to be Alt last year. And McGath came in and did his job as the Wildcat quarterback and did a good job running and putting the shoulders down and all that stuff. But to see him get to be a passer and throw the ball and get to prove himself is really, really important, not just for the fan base to get to see it, but also for him and his team. His teammates know that he can get him the football, for him to know that Bolte has confidence in him to throw the ball around the yard. All of this stuff matters. And I think just the defense being as good as advertised, you lean a little more into the ground game, not a ton, but you're willing to lean more into that. And each week McGath is getting more and more confident slinging the football around. It's a recipe for why this team has been 3-1 and why they've looked the way they have through the first month.
Yeah, I think that turnovers, honestly, are a bit overrated when it comes to, killing a drive, because most of the time, as long as you're not throwing pick six after pick six, and terrible screen passes and timing is completely off. And you don't want to be throwing 30 interceptions like Jameis Winston. But, sometimes like a sack can be worse than an interception. If it's 3rd and long and you're just throwing the ball deep anyways, who cares if that gets intercepted?
The
or
arm
like we
punt.
talked about.
Yeah,
the arm punt, the one we talked about last week on a Hail Mary, down, not really
right.
A Hail Mary, but last play of the first half, that interception doesn't bother me that much. And you'd like to see
a defense, by the way, who can bail you out. And that's the other thing. Like, you're okay throwing an interception, taking a chance, because your defense will get you.
Right. And a lot of people will tell you, like, they would rather their quarterback be a little bit more aggressive because it leads to more big plays rather than, all right, just be safe, don't turn the ball over. And realistically, I mean, that's kind of what we need, is just, we needed Sam not to be like the worst quarterback we've ever seen. We knew the structure of this team was there, and we just needed him to not come in and completely drag the team down. And I don't think we ever expected him to do that. But I think he's been really, really good. I mean, I don't really even notice any offensive hiccups between this year and last year that make me think like, oh, this team is so much worse offensively than last year. Maybe they don't score as many points, but they have more time of possession because they run the ball more and they waste a lot more clock. And that's going to help you, especially once the weather starts getting colder. It's going to be a lot easier to run the football. Let's go look at some statistics quickly here. Rushing offense, Bemidji State third in the conference behind only Minnesota State and Minot State, who has run the ball 220 times already this season. The next highest is Minnesota State at 177. So they have a lot more yards per game. They run the triple option. But Bemidji State, I mean, they're top 3 in rush offense and top 2 in rush defense. God knows how Minnesota Duluth still 14 yards a game, Minnesota Duluth on the ground defensively. That's crazy. But I don't know who they've played. I know they played Moorhead, so that helps. They played UMary, so that helps. Those are the 2 bottom teams in rush offense this year, and I can't remember who their first game of the season was against, but Duluth is the only team currently below Bemidji State in defensive efficiency rating, I guess, for run plays. But this team, like you said, they have a defense they can lean on, and the offense is still clicking. I would have to compare this year's and last year's totals. And of course, this year's only through 4 games so far, but I haven't really noticed any major offensive hiccups. I actually kind of like the idea of running the ball better and taking more time of possession, because if you get a lead, that's how you keep it. You don't keep throwing the ball. You waste 15 seconds on a drive throwing 3 incompletions. You can waste 2.5 minutes damn near if you run the ball with more success. So good win against Sioux Falls. I don't really have anything more to say against that.
No, I think we pretty much covered it. Let's go around the NSIC.
Yeah, let's run around the NSIC quick. Minnesota State, they did play Minot this week. Minot's dream run came to a abrupt halt in a 40-6 loss to Minnesota State. Moorhead cannot keep the momentum rolling. They lose to McKendree in Lebanon, Illinois, which surprised me. Hold on.
Not that one.
McKendree beat them 22-15 out of conference, of course. Bemidji State over Sioux Falls. Concordia St. Paul beating up on Southwest Minnesota State 27-17. Augustana 41. Northern State 7. Wayne State with a 28-21 win over Winona. That was a little bit closer than I might have thought, but it was in Winona, so they had a little home
Winona's
field
not
advantage.
A bad team either.
They're not a terrible team, no. And then Minnesota Duluth taking care of the team Bemidji State will be playing this week, 43-7 over UMary. Standings are starting to take a little bit more of shape. Of course, some teams are only 3 games in still. Some teams have only played 2 conference games, but the top dogs are really starting to come out and separate themselves. Minnesota State and Augustana still undefeated in conference play. Bemidji State, Minot, Sioux Falls, Wayne State, all right behind at 2-1. And then, behind them is a bunch of teams who are 1-1 and 0-3 in conference. So UMary, of course, 0-3 in conference, 1-3 overall. And I believe we talked about their win was against who? Was that Valley City State? Or was that? Yeah. No, that was Minot. UMary beat Jamestown 23-6.
Future NSIC member.
Future NSIC member, yes. So I guess if we want to jump into that game, I mean, I kind of expect Bemidji State to be able to deal with this opponent. Mary's never really given us any trouble.
No, I mean, they've played it. What was it last? I think it was 2 years ago. It was weirdly close. But
2 years ago, it was like 62-42 when Bemidji State did not yet have a defensive structure.
Everybody just said, "What's defense?"
But the last couple of years, let's look at the history quick, because that'll tell us exactly how long it's been. There is a convenient history tab. Bemidji State all-time 13-4 against UMary. The current streak is 9 wins in a row for Bemidji State. The last win for UMary came in 2013. Before that, it was 2011. And UMary won the first 2 matchups ever against Bemidji State. A 10-7 victory in 2007. And in 2006, a 27-21 victory. So, 13-4 all-time. They've won the last 9. I don't really expect that to change today. Or not today. on Saturday for homecoming. Minot State 7th in the conference in scoring offense, Bemidji State 5th, separated by only 2 points. And then defensively, Bemidji State averages 17 points a game given up. UMary averages almost 30. So scoring defense, pretty big difference there. Rushing yards, again, Bemidji State, like I said, almost 200 yards per game on the ground for Bemidji State. That's insane to me, because if I can tab back here to last season and just take a look at that quick, let's see where Bemidji State averaged per game rushing offense last year. They were at 137 yards a game, 9th in the conference. So much, much better this season for Bemidji State on the ground. And I expect them to lean more into that this year. They keep doing it, and it keeps working. So I expect them to have a heavy dose of the run game early once they get a lead, especially. I expect them to. You just can't let UMary stick around. I think it's so cliche to say, but you got to get off to a hot start and just put the pedal to the metal. And the longer you let them stick around, the more likely they are to stick around. So get on them early. And they only average 37 rush yards per game. And,
right. Well, to be fair, when they're losing a lot in the second half, you got to be passing. So.
Yeah, they probably aren't. They are definitely one of the bottom. I mean, Duluth, Concordia, Southwest, Winona, all down there with them. Of course, Moorhead and Augustana don't run the ball that much either. But, and they average defensively giving up how many yards per game? Only 132, which feels like not that much for a team who's trailing so often, especially Duluth. I would have felt like last week would have put up more rushing on them. Bemidji State 6th in passing offense in the conference. UMary 7th, so very close there. And Bemidji State's pass defense is 7th. UMary's is 11th. So, yeah, I mean, not as crazy difference as you would see. It's not 1 to 13 in all of these categories. It's, some of them are close, but I expect as the season goes along, you'll see some of these totals start to air themselves out. And I expect a pretty comfortable win here, and hopefully it's warm. I haven't checked what the forecast looks like for Bemidji on Saturday.
I think it's still going to be good.
I am expecting them to be swimming in the lake after the game. So hopefully for their sake, it's a warm one.
One of the best traditions in college football. For those who don't know, Bemidji State long-held homecoming tradition. When the football team wins, you go splash around in the lake. Of course, last year I went to the homecoming game when they played Mankato, and we did not get to jump in the lake. But when I covered the team, or when I helped take stats for the team when I was in college, one of my favorite homecoming games was when we played Sioux Falls and Bemidji State was down by 3 scores, and they came all the way back in the second half to win the game, and Bolte went for 2 for the win after they scored a touchdown with like 5 seconds to go. And it was just one of my favorite football games to get to watch, and for that team to win and everybody to get to jump into the lake afterwards. I think outside of that loss to Mankato, Bemidji State has won like pretty much every homecoming game in the last decade since then. So,
yeah, probably.
I mean, part of that's, which teams to pick, but also sometimes you don't really get a choice. Sometimes you play a good USF team and you get to beat them and whatever. So it's a great tradition, and it's really fun to see. And hopefully they're splashing around in Lake Bemidji. Ian, it's homecoming week for everybody. And before we get into all the other sports, what do you remember from homecoming at Bemidji State?
I mean, most of the time that I was up there, they didn't schedule too tough of a homecoming game. I don't think I was at the Sioux Falls one, unfortunately. I don't remember what I was doing that weekend.
Probably working.
Yeah, that could have been it. But yeah, I mean, just the vibe around campus is a little bit jollier. People are more excited. Of course, there's student activities that happen off campus that weekend too that are kind of getting people in a little bit more of a happy mood that they're excited to do. But yeah, I don't have anything crazy special about homecoming. I just love getting that many people at a football game. It's always fun to see the stadium just packed, and the student section has their flaws, and halftime comes, and especially on homecoming, they kind of clear out a little bit.
Well,
Last
especially
year
when
wasn't
they're up
that
by
bad.
like 20 scores.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
all right, we got it
But
taken care of.
but
yeah,
it's fun. It's fun to get the atmosphere that rocking, and it's always fun to get to see them jump in the lake. So that's one of the best traditions in all of college sports, especially. So I really hope that we get to see them do that again. I would be pretty disappointed if they didn't, but I have full faith in them to get that done.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Some of the other teams that have homecoming include women's soccer, of course, getting ready for their next slate of games. But first, why don't we catch everybody up? Home opener versus conference opener, excuse me, against Crookston. Bemidji State takes care of business. St. Cloud State, not quite the same story, but let's start off with the good news, Ian.
Yeah, sorry. They took care of business against Minnesota Crookston 3-0 in that game. Katrina Barthelt scored the first goal, and then Megan Coe and Isabel Morales scored goals in the second half to extend the lead to 3-0. So a pretty typical win. We are pretty used to beating Crookston in soccer. And then, of course, you play against St. Cloud State, who you beat twice last season in the postseason. But it wasn't meant to be this time around. They scored goals in the 17th minute and the 66th minute. Katrina Barthelt scored a goal, but I think there was only about 35 seconds left on the clock when she was awarded the penalty. So her 5th of the season, congrats to her. But unfortunately for the Beavers, they were not able to capitalize on some of that success they found against St. Cloud State last season. Bemidji State now falls to 3-3. And I'm trying here to pull up the standings. Of course, it's super early in the season, so standings for soccer yet will not even make sense compared to even the football, who's dived into it a little bit more yet. But yeah, Bemidji State's sitting right around middle of the pack. That's to be expected. They're 1-1 in conference play. But yeah, 2 games coming up this weekend. Or I'm sorry, no, just 1 this weekend. Only on Sunday against Sioux Falls. So just the 1 this week. But Sioux Falls so far 0-5 on the season. So again, I kind of expect a win there, and hopefully they can come away with that with 3 points from that game.
It's so weird that for homecoming, they don't actually have a home game. I get that sometimes the schedule can just be weird, but it's fascinating. So I guess they get their – do we count Minnesota Crookston pretty much as the homecoming game since they won 3-0, or do we want to award a belated homecoming to when they play Winona State?
Well, next weekend is Parents' Weekend, and then it's Senior Day on Sunday. So I feel like we shouldn't be taking away from those weekends and those 2 games. So I guess we'll give it to Crookston and say, yeah, they won their homecoming game against Crookston. But yeah, whatever way you want to spin it, I think that they have a good shot at winning those games next weekend too.
Yeah. So looking just kind of through your observations, Ian, I know you didn't get a chance to take a deep dive on Sunday to the St. Cloud State game, but I think overall just one where Bemidji State gets, it's a 1-goal loss, which when this team loses games, it typically is by 1 score. But anything just kind of in the reading the recaps and just kind of paying attention to this team the last few years, anything stand out to you in that one?
No, I mean, it was a pretty close-fought game. I guess I would have to see exactly what happened on those goals. Maybe it was just a little bit better of an opportunity for St. Cloud State than Bemidji State had gotten. 1 yellow card for each team, 11 fouls for each team. BSU had the edge in corner kicks and in shots. So, no, not much to say. I mean,
kind of right there for you. You had your chances, and it's
right. Maybe you just got a little unlucky. Again, I didn't get a chance to watch this. I was at work on Sunday, so yeah, unfortunately they couldn't keep up with St. Cloud State. But St. Cloud is a good team. They made the tournament last year. I think they won the regular season. Yeah, they won the regular season NSIC. And then they got upset in St. Cloud by Bemidji, who ended up winning the tournament and then going to the NCAAs. But they won the NSIC last year in the regular season, so they're a good team. It stinks because I think Bemidji State has taken a step back from at least where they were, at their peak of their powers, 2, 3, 4 years ago at this point. But they're still a good team, and we still kind of expect them to be challenging for home field advantage in the first round of these playoffs and especially making the playoffs. So
we've gone from just murdering everybody in their path to, well, they got to work for it a little bit if they want to be towards the top of the conference. But yeah, still, I mean, just it shows you where the bar has been for this program the last half decade plus, is the fact that we expect them year in and year out to be at the top of the NSIC. And, you got good teams like St. Cloud State sprinkled in there and a few others. So Sioux Falls a chance to get back in that win column until we talk next time. So moving along, obviously we mentioned earlier at the beginning with volleyball having the tragedy with their program, but they have a chance on Thursday to get that home opener, a tough team to do it against in UMD. And I think it's at that point, I mean, look, getting a win against that team is tough in any circumstance, but it'll just be fascinating to see how this team comes out and to see if they're, just to see if they're ready to play. And, that's not a detriment if they're not, but it's just you got to come out of the gate swinging against a very tough team. And there's just going to be a lot of emotion in that one.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I think that you got to find a way to play volleyball, right? And that's that's all you can say. I mean, it's going to be tough, but yeah. Sorry, I was kind of looking at some of the football stats. I think we forgot to pick an athlete of the week this week, CJ. So I was kind of looking through there and got a little distracted. But
all right, Ian, floor is yours. Pick one.
Well, that's even worse because I wasn't able to find anybody that stood out defensively. I mean, you look at the sack from Marcus Hansen. Otherwise, you look at the forced fumble.
I was going to say Marcus Hansen seems pretty good to me in this on-air production meeting.
I think that would be a pretty good on-air production meeting decision. By the way. Friend of the part. Let's just give it to Marcus, man. I mean, he had a great game. 5 tackles, which led the team, tied with Stephen Hoffman. He had 2 tackles for a loss, including 1 sack and a forced fumble. When you say it out loud, that is not necessarily such a bad stat line.
No, I think that's good. And you know what? I think this has been how we talked about doing this player of the week, and it's great that we're doing that. And every single time it's felt like we get into the podcast, we're like, wait. But
shoot, I think the first 2 weeks we did good at it, and now the last couple we've been like,
we've been a little dogging it. But I mean, hey, they make it easy.
We did have something big going on directly before this that may have distracted us that you will be hearing on Thursday. So again, another little teaser for that. Be excited about 2 episodes this week, but yeah, that I apologize. We got a little distracted with our athlete of the week this week.
No, and Marcus, hey, congratulations.
Well, and we don't want to give it to Katrina Bartheld, who would be another candidate after 2 goals this season or this weekend, but she just got 3 last weekend and just won it last week. And
you got 3 last weekend. We can't set a precedent if you only score 2. I mean,
you could give it to Bryce Peters or Sam McGath too. I mean, Sam had 263 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns. Bryce, again, 9 catches, 126 and a touchdown. It's been a couple weeks since he got his, but I think I'm very happy with Marcus and with the whole defense this last week, really standing up to the test of Sioux Falls.
Yeah, and I mean, you could give it to Drake Griffin as well with his couple touchdown passes. Yeah. Like, there's a lot of guys you could give it to. So, anyway.
Not to take too much away from volleyball, I believe it was that we were trying to talk about there. Yeah, but
I think we've touched on it, and I think everybody kind of understands.
It's hard to know what to expect. What is the team going to look like coming off of something like that?
It's just important that they get back out there and play volleyball, I think, is the biggest thing, right?
Right. I mean, everybody handles it differently, but maybe for some of these girls, it'll be good to get back out there in some normalcy and I mean,
they've just had a lot of time, rightfully, and as they should, to process and to do all this. And they just need to get back out there and play volleyball again and kind of pick up the pieces going from there. So moving on to some other, as we kind of round things out, Ian, I know that we are close to the start of women's hockey, but we don't want to touch on that quite yet. We'll wrap up with that as we take a look in some of these things as we get ready to get there in cross country. As my page now all of a sudden has frozen on me, as we look at cross country over the last week, they're getting ready for the NSIC conference preview, so nothing really going on with that program. Men's and women's golf, Ian, you got anything for that?
Yeah, men's golf, just like last week, they're currently in the middle of a tournament right now, or a invitational, as you call it. They got 9th out of 10 on Monday yesterday, and they're currently in play on Tuesday. We don't have an update for you on that and where they finished. They did not improve their standing last week in the Bulldog Fall Classic. They did finish 7th of 9 in that. And then tabbing over to the women's side, last week they had the Minnesota State University Mankato, the Troy Byrne Golf Classic. They finished 10th out of 10, unfortunately. But yesterday, 6th out of 10 at Winona in the Jewel, whatever that means, in Lake City, Minnesota. 6th of 10 yesterday. And again, we do not have any live updated results for you. That is very unfortunate that they've been having all of these on Monday, Tuesday, and not like
they pick it right
Sunday,
in the
Monday.
middle of our recording schedule, but it's good because they have another tournament over the weekend.
It's their fault. It's not our fault for recording on Tuesday. It's the golf schedule.
We simply couldn't just record later in the day. No.
Oh, God.
No, get out of here. It's a Tuesday night. We all have plans.
I actually do, but
I mean, yeah, I actually have to work later tonight. I got to call a high school volleyball game. But the Mustang Invitational in Marshall over the weekend will be their final one of the fall season, and then they pack her up and wait until the spring to get things going again for women's golf. But getting ready to start the season, Ian, it's finally here. Beaver hockey, women's hockey, a new era of Bemidji State women's hockey. They're picked 8th by the WCHA coaches preseason poll.
Top 8, baby.
Top 8, baby. Amber Fryklund.
Don't ask us how many teams are in the conference.
Not
Don't
important.
ask us that question.
New head coach Amber Fryklund starting her head coaching debut, making a return to be on this staff. And I mean, there's a lot of new things going on, Ian, but facing a very tough opponent in Ohio State. And those games, Big Ten Plus for the first game, and then Fox 9 Plus.
Fox 9 Plus.
Fox 9 Plus on Saturday. So they're playing Ohio State at the Sanford Center. Fox 9 Plus, which most people should get. I mean, I get it with YouTube TV, so
Yep.
should be out there with will I be watching the game live? I mean, it's at 3:01. It's just after the Vikings game, so you flip it over there. I can record it, watch it back.
Well, it's on Saturday,
or Saturday, excuse me. Yeah, Saturday. So perfect. Bemidji State football. What time is the homecoming game?
I wish it was on Sunday because then I could turn that on instead of watching the Chargers backups lose to the Chiefs.
It always comes back to the Chargers.
That would be awesome. Maybe we can get them to reschedule the hockey game to Sunday so that I have something better to watch instead.
The football game kicks off at 2 p.m. and then you get your second TV or you put your laptop up on Fox 9 Plus, and then you watch the hockey game. We got you taken care of. We got it all figured out. On Fox 9 Plus is when they play, and that's when they get the season started off, and then they go on the road for a couple at Robert Morris. Those are a couple of games where they should be competitive with. And then, of course, you play another team in St. Cloud State to begin. It just feels different starting the season off with a WCHA opponent, doesn't it?
Yeah, right out of the gate. I don't think that we did that last season. We had a couple of games against Lindenwood and then RPI before we jumped in October.
Lindenwood is on the schedule, but in about a month.
Yeah. Lindenwood will be here later on. Got Ohio State, though. The Amber Fryklund era has approached us, and it is beckoning this weekend. And I think my bold prediction is Bemidji State splits this weekend with Ohio State. Yep. Bold prediction. Might not come true, but I think this team's coming in. They got swept last weekend by Minnesota Duluth. They're going to be angry, and it's going to cause them to make some mistakes. They're going to whoop Bemidji's ass on Friday, and they're going to be like, all right, we're back. We're back. We're Ohio State. We're back, and they're going to fall asleep. And Bemidji State on Fox 9 Plus is going to beat Ohio State in regulation with an empty net goal 3-1.
Hey, from your mouth to God's ears, man. Like, let's have that go. I'd be all in on that. I believe I can't remember when the last time is that Bemidji State has beaten Ohio State. It's happened before. And I believe
Let's click on our handy dandy history tab as my computer loads, and
because I think I remember taking stats for the women's hockey team when they beat Ohio State one of the times around like 2018, 2019, somewhere
last
in there.
time was, let's scroll back here. It's unfortunately quite a ways. 2022 was the last time that the Beavers ended up beating Ohio State. They beat them 3-2 at home here in Bemidji. In between that, we're on a current 13-game losing streak, unfortunately. Most of those have not been very close.
Wisconsin. Maybe it was Wisconsin.
Wisconsin could be. There was a 4-game winning streak for Bemidji State in 2018 and 19, ending the 2017-18 season with a win in Columbus, 2-1, and then a sweep at home in Bemidji in 2018.
Never mind. I remember right. I was there.
Yep, and then a win again later that season in Columbus before dropping the final matchup of the season to them 5-1 in Columbus. But
we talked about those games on Beaver Banter, man.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying, man. Everybody's so discouraged about this hockey program, dude. Amber Fryklund might come in here and get us back to, like, I think that's what we've talked about, man. I'm not expecting her to come in here and make us an Ohio State or a Wisconsin or a Minnesota. I want to be a team again that can compete with those teams, because we used to get super excited about those games because it was a chance to knock off those type of teams. And I know we came kind of close against Minnesota in one game last year. We only lost by like 1 goal or something. But, hey, let's get back to being that program again. The teams don't want to come play because this might be an update or an upset on my record, or a blemish on my record. So that's what I'm hoping for, and hopefully this era can get off to a good start. They don't know what to expect. They don't know what style of hockey they're about to see. That's what I'm hoping for this weekend.
Well, and the other thing with Coach Fryklund is also that there's 11 newcomers on the roster, so it'll be interesting to see how different this team looks. I mean, she was on Coach Scanlon's coaching staff for a little bit, and I assume a lot of the same things will be similar. But yeah, there are going to be a few deviations and a few things just that she wants to instill in this program. I think obviously Coach Scanlon been there forever, and just time for, it's not anybody's fault. It's just time for a new voice, time for a new direction in the program, and to move on and do that is going to be, it's got to start somewhere. And especially in this new era of college hockey with transfer portal and I want to say NIL, but I mean, just all the buzzwords with the changing of the college sports landscape, just to see how everything has changed, and, have Coach Fryklund come in here and be the coach to kind of lead Bemidji State in this new era of college sports will be fascinating to see. It's not an easy task, but hey, got to start somewhere, and it's going to be fascinating. It's going to be fun to get that all started off. Ian, let's close things out. Discord, plug it one more time.
Yeah, join the Discord. Again, I will try to get out and retweet that. I completely forgot last week, even though I said I was going to. But yeah, with the hockey season right around the corner, we are 11 days and 6 minutes away from our road opener in Duluth against UMD. And of course, this week is a 2-episode week. Be sure to tune back in tomorrow to see a exclusive episode of the Beaver Banter that will hopefully get everybody a little bit hyped, a little bit excited for the hockey season coming right up around the corner. But otherwise, yeah, join the Discord, follow all the socials, and I think that's it. I think that's all we got. So from Ian and CJ, this has been the Beaver Banter Podcast.